Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Brotherly Banter Show. This is Sebastian. I'm joined here with my brother Christian. And today we're going to talk about USA versus China infrastructure. I came across a video on YouTube with the difference between all the investments that China has done over the last couple of years, specifically over the last 10 years in their infrastructure and comparing it to the United States. So today we're going to break down China's infrastructure versus USA's. And I'm joined here with my brother Christian, and he's also going to talk about that also.
What's up, guys? Yeah, so obviously the U.S. is kind of falling behind in a lot of things, specifically when it comes against China. But before we get too far into the videos, I want to kind of you know talk openly about what we've seen, um, and personally with our own eyes, and then we can kind of compare it to what we're seeing on social media and the news. But since you do a lot more traveling, at least recently, than I do, why don't you do you have something you want to talk about that maybe you've seen in your recent travels that you can kind of compare to? And even, I mean, even if it's not China, even if it's stuff that you've been to recently compared to the U.S., and then we can kind of get to what China's doing and how we're maybe falling behind.
I think the main thing is to understand that a lot of countries have caught up as far as investing in their infrastructure, and United States has kind of just taken a step back and have not really invested into the infrastructure. So as the other company or other countries are building, United States has kind of fallen behind. And then the big example is since United States and China are the number one and number two as far as GDP, the largest economies in the world. China has really, really taken over as far as investing, not only in China, but they have something called the Belt and Road Initiative. They started over 10 years ago. I think specifically, they started first talking about it in 2013, where they're not only investing in China, they're going into other countries and investing also. So they're investing in Europe, they're investing even as far as South America, and just to make it a little bit easier as far as going in and creating infrastructure, which helps them with the trade long term. So it's kind of like a long term vision they're doing to help build up other countries' infrastructure. And then the main thing is the difference of infrastructure in China. So I've traveled recently to South America. I've been to Europe. I've seen a lot of advancement as far as infrastructure in other countries, which are supposed to be third world countries. But like I said, the United States seems to be falling behind in that aspect. However, it's one of those things that as time goes on, as the years progress, I feel like United States is definitely taking a step back, and China has really stepped up the game. And because their population is 1.4 billion people compared to the United States, they almost have or they actually do have over a billion people more than the United States. So they can build a lot quicker too. So if you see some of these cities in China, they have really, really come a long way in the last 10 years. If you see the before and after pictures, it's pretty remarkable. And that's
Yeah,
when I came across that video specifically, kind of caught my attention.
yeah, and I don't I don't want to come across that we're like praising China for everything and talking bad about the U.S. It's just there's obviously a lot of flaws in our current infrastructure system. I mean, the country, even the states that I've been to recently, you can't compare to some of these places that countries and specifically China when you actually see these videos. But the metro systems in some of these big cities are horrible. Just trying to travel, I can't imagine living there. Having to visit there is already sketchy enough, but then having to do it every day for going to work, I can't imagine having to travel into these subways and dealing with what's going on a daily basis. Even here in Orlando, I mean, people come here for Disney, and downtown Orlando has become just horrible. I remember when it was like back after college, 2005 time. I mean, it was the place to be, and it was just everything was opened up and going off. And now you go there, and it's just homeless people in every corner. Lots of places are shut down; they don't make it. Um, so, and just not a great place to be overall. But kind of talking about before we get on, before I want to show these videos, but before we go back into like the China thing, I was just pulling up some videos on the actual water infrastructure. Talking about like Flint, Michigan, and how our water systems are on the verge of basically collapsing because they were built almost 7 years, 60, 57 years ago, and they were made to last that long, and they're just falling apart. And I don't know where you live in Boca, but like here, we get water boil alerts all the time. Are you guys getting
Yeah,
that over
yeah,
there?
we get that a lot. Not so much in Palm Beach County, but in Broward County, Dade County, they have that a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and speaking of infrastructure too, the buildings, we had the collapse in down here in South Florida of the university, FIU. This was a couple years ago, where the building just collapsed. And then we also had most recently, I think a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, the condo that collapsed in Miami.
In Miami, right? Yeah.
Yep, in Miami. So
Wasn't there also a bridge that
yes.
collapsed in Miami?
So it was the bridge at the school, and then after that, that's when the Miami. Well, they were both in Miami and Dade County. First, it was the bridge at the school at the FIU, and then there was basically the overnight where the condominium collapsed, killing all those people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So these are things that could be prevented if you just maintain your infrastructure and things of that sort. So, United States obviously still has a very strong economy. They do a lot of the money that they invest goes to the military. The United States spends more money on military than any other country combined, but I think they're missing the aspect of making sure they maintain the infrastructure, and that's what the video today is about. It's not to say that United States is doing everything wrong. It's just about just basically focusing on areas we can improve in.
Yeah, and with all the money that they're spending, giving aid to other countries, I mean, there really needs to be some thought into rebuilding our own nation. It's horrible to see. I mean, streets in California, I mean, streets of Detroit. When you see these things on TV, it just you don't think it's real because if you don't live there, but it's really going on,
Yeah,
which is really sad.
when I
I
went
mean,
to San Francisco last year, that was an eye opener. It
that
was
Skid is that Skid Row where Skid Row's at?
yeah, I mean, it's just homeless people everywhere. Just it's very sad to see, to be honest with you.
Mentally ill
Mm.
and just all drugged up.
Yeah,
Yes, and like I said, we see that here in Florida. It's definitely getting worse over the last few years, but I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I know. Um, I think every president talks about this, rebuilding and fixing the infrastructure. But honestly, that can get into a whole other conversation.
yeah.
I don't think there's anything's going to happen anytime soon because they're just every 4 years they're changing office,
Mm.
and nothing's ever going to get done that way.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's also they're so far behind at this point. It's not just one president. It's not the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. It's just basically getting on the same page that they have a massive, and a lot of presidents have addressed this. Everyone's aware that we have a massive infrastructure problem. It's just the money's being spent in other places.
yeah, and honestly, I mean, I don't think they're going to have the money to be paying for all this stuff anyway, especially in the next few years with everything going on. But let me see
With all
if
the
I
debt
can.
they have. Yeah.
No, it's crazy.
That's another thing. I think United States right now hit $31 trillion in debt. So we're the most indebted country in the world. And then China's, I think, national debt is a far less than United States. But that's just an interesting thing too, where spend all this money, we're so in debt, but we still haven't had our infrastructure built.
Yeah, and talking about China, I mean, you hear it on the news every day. China is basically a threat to the U.S. right now. Along with Russia and everything else. I just don't understand. This didn't happen overnight. I mean, their advancement didn't happen overnight. It's been happening for the last couple decades, and now it's at the point where like catching up is almost impossible at this point. Um, it's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy the technology they have going on and because they incorporate to the infrastructure. But if I'm gonna play a video here, I'm gonna share that video that we were looking
Yeah.
at. Give me a second. Let me share my
The
screen.
other thing while you're sharing the video is just that you got to be really careful of what news you're watching, right? Because over here, when you watch a lot of news in the U.S., you're going to see a lot of um, bad things come out about China, right? You don't see the good things that they're progressing as a country, as a nation, because that's their pretty much rival, right? That's where we're competing against.
Yeah.
So you almost have to get involved and just not just look at the United States perspective, but look at other countries' perspective, look at China's perspective, people that are living in China that are American, or people that are living in China or that are from other countries.
Well, this
So
guy on these videos, he's not even Chinese. He's been living there for the last 10 years,
yeah,
right?
so
What is it?
he's living in China. He's been there for 10 years. His wife is Chinese. He's got a son, but he's English. So he's
Yeah.
from Europe, and he had the same exact thoughts before going into China, I believe, when he first arrived, because that's all you hear, all the bad things about China. And then you get there and it's like, wow, it's not exactly what everyone was saying.
Yeah.
So
So
that's another reason why you gotta get out there yourself and go see it for yourself.
so let me see. Can you see my screen there?
Yeah, I see it.
All right. So this is one of the videos here. I'm gonna kind of skim through it real quick, but let me get the volume. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I mean, look at the inside of that building, dude.
Yeah, I haven't been to every. Now this is a train station, right? So this is a
This is a train station. I mean, this is out of all the train stations I've ever been to in the U.S. and in any country, this is by far superior by a million percent. Like it's crazy, dude.
yeah. No, I've never seen anything like this. Yet
I
again, I
mean,
haven't been to every train station in the U.S., but I can't imagine our train stations looking like this.
look at the architecture. Just the ceiling is amazing. And what really catches my eye is how clean everything is.
Yeah, no, the way they maintain it also, you got it's funny because during the video you'll see just people just cleaning
Yeah,
at all times.
all day long.
Yeah. And by the way, this is not an airport.
No, this is a
This is
this is
a train
a
station.
train station.
And that's another thing that we're falling behind on, just the airports where you go to different countries and that experience when you go to other countries, how their infrastructure is ahead of times, or
So
ahead of our times.
in this section here, like these people are taking pictures there. Like this
Yeah.
is an attraction. I mean, it's so nice. They're actually filming and taking pictures. I mean, what train station here do you see people like recording and photographing? This is beautiful.
No, it is gorgeous. It is, just the money they and the time invested into the last, I think it's like the last 10 years, they pretty much built most of it up. Everything was built in the 2000s. So you can say the last 20 years, but more specifically the last 10.
Look at this section here. Hold on. This woman's like posing for like Instagram. Go back. She's like posing for Instagram.
It's almost like they got together and said, what do you guys want to do today? Let's go to that new train
Yeah.
station and upload Instagram pictures.
Yeah, you don't see one piece of paper on the floor. I mean,
No,
I don't know when this was actually filmed, but it is super clean. Obviously, there's not a lot of people right now, so I would assume maybe it says it was uploaded 2 months ago, but it could have been
yeah.
recorded a lot longer.
Now this is pretty neat because he does videos all across China. So he's on top of the screen.
Yeah,
He's
here.
showing another station that has nothing to do with this one. But look at that. It looks like a spaceship.
Yeah, and the one before that was orange was pretty nice too. Let me see where it's at. Well, that one's pretty cool. Look at that.
Yeah, that was what I was referring to. That was the designs. The designs are
That
all
one.
different. Yeah.
It's so nice.
It's pretty crazy. And I think he mentioned on this video that 10 or 9 of the 10 longest train stations are all in China. So their routes, the 9 of the 10 are all in China.
Yeah.
That's incredible there.
Yeah, and he's talking about, he's not just saying the U.S. He's saying in all the world, like even
Yeah.
in Europe, like there's nothing that compares to this. So he's not just trying to bash the U.S. He's talking about his homeland too. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's got he's got a great personality. He's very humorous when he comes to, like, cracking jokes, stuff like that. I just think he's trying to say, man, look what China's doing. Look how much they're building, and look how nice everything is up to date as far as their infrastructure.
Yeah, and then here I'm going to jump ahead, but like this is what we're used to, at least where the things that I've seen. I mean, this is New York City subway station. Like, look at that, how disgusting that is. How
Now, I've been to New
embarrassing.
York. I don't mean to cut you off there, but I've been to New York station. This was years ago, I remember it wasn't pretty. I don't remember looking like this. This could be now recently, because this was taken in New York City.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but I mean, there's obviously there's different sections of the metro system that have different tunnels that lead up to this. I mean, this also reminds me, what's going to South America and Argentina, like very similar. These underground tunnels, and just is not comfortable walking through these places, especially at night.
Yeah.
Um,
And I went to the one in Madrid a couple years ago, and that was beautiful. I mean, that
was it?
was up to date. Yeah. Yeah. The train, I went and was at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was coming back, very safe. Everything was nice and clean. I mean, it didn't look like China's, obviously, but
Yeah.
definitely looked better than this.
Here's another, I guess, another scene of the New York subway system, and then people sleeping on
Well,
the
that,
train.
so you got two things here. You got the infrastructure problem and you got the homeless problem.
Yeah,
Now, this is not going to happen in most countries. They're not going to allow it. Specifically in China, they're not going to allow homeless people just to sleep in the subway. Right. So there's another issue we have with the homeless situation. But it's pretty disgusting to walk into a train station or a train and you're seeing people passed out and sleeping on the train.
I mean, it's disgusting. It's sad, and also like
Yeah.
it smells like urine. They're doing drugs.
Yeah.
They're all drugged up on there. It's not a safe environment, especially if you're traveling with young kids.
Yeah.
Um, this
So I think he's going to do a tour. So he's inside
yeah, this is
now.
inside.
Yeah. So he's inside. And what's crazy is you see how nice and clean everything is, obviously.
Yeah, no homeless people
Everything's
sleeping on
neat.
there.
The other thing is the culture, too. People are much more respectful, keep things clean, very similar to Japan, where they're always cleaning up after themselves. So that's pretty crazy. They provide a charger for your phone inside the subway.
Do you think this might get the conspiracy? Do you think they're somehow able? I mean, I don't know. I know China has stricter laws when it comes to media and all that stuff and social media.
Yeah.
Do you think there's, if you're an American tourist, that somehow they're stealing some information from your phone?
No, I think that's just propaganda, Western propaganda. I don't believe so. I mean, what's so important? I think
I mean,
I don't believe so.
I mean, not to go down the TikTok rabbit hole, but they were trying to ban TikTok here because obviously they're worried about the information that China's gathering from us. Honestly, that's
Yeah.
the
Well, they banned TikTok for some of the people too, right? So they're if you're
in
the
China.
kids for yeah in China
Yeah, they
supposedly
basically almost regulate what's being shown to their kids. I mean, here
yeah
there's no. I mean, I could be watching something innocent and then some porn basically come up on my
yeah.
phone, and my kids are around me. So
So
honestly,
there's two different ways you can look at that. Oh my God, they're controlling you, or number two, they're trying to protect their youth, right? They're not trying to basically contaminate their youth with all this nonsense on
yeah,
social media,
and
right? You
and
got
and
young girls dancing on TikTok,
yeah, we can do a whole other podcast on this, but it's I think social media is going to be the downfall of at least the U.S. I mean, the way it's been going. It literally everybody filming everything all day long just to get views, and they don't, someone could be getting hurt and they're recording but they're not helping,
yeah,
or just fighting in public. It's ridiculous. So I can see why, the way China is, they're keeping that away from the kids because they want their kids to be, not brain dead by the
yeah,
time they're
Brent,
in.
yeah, yeah. And we grew up. I mean, you grew up in an age, obviously,
We didn't have it,
we didn't
so I
have
mean
it, so
now
we
we
saw
have.
both. We saw
Yeah.
both, right?
So, but I see. I listen. I'm guilty. I use it. I use social media. I'm on there a lot, and I can just see how badly it's affecting society.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Well, United States also there's not only a crisis with the homeless that we talked about, the infrastructure, but we also have a situation going on with mental health,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of mental health issues going on. I think a lot of that has to do with social media.
Oh yeah, no, it plays a huge part.
Yeah. Look at
Um,
this. Now this is, I guess he got off on just a
yeah,
random stop.
this is a random station he stopped at.
Yeah.
Look at that. Obviously, there's nobody out there right now, so I don't know when this was filmed, but I can't imagine it being horrible. It's like as far as cleanliness, even with people there.
The other thing is keep in mind, China is a little bit larger than the United States. I think it's like 2% larger than US, but they have 1.1 more billion people than US. So you're talking about relatively the same size country, and they have over one. I'm just like, where are all the people right now? It's like
Yeah,
they have a billion people more than in like all the subways right now. He's probably
that
filming early in the day or something.
that's what I don't know. Like it could have been, he might have had to take some time for this thing together, but yeah, right now there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So let me skip through here real quick. And here
Yeah, people with
there's um
autonomous.
no one operating the actual
Yeah,
train.
pretty incredible.
Pretty neat stuff. Let me see what else he was
And
talking
what he
about.
was saying, because obviously I haven't been in China. Oh, that's when he pulled up that the 9 of the 10 longest ones are all in China. But he brings up a good point. In the US, we use cars a lot. So
Hmm.
everywhere you got to have a car in the United States, right?
Yeah,
And the reason he says that is like the reason you have to use a car is because there's no really um, built trains around the US, right? Like they have in other countries. I'm pretty sure if we had trains that can take me from where I'm at to another state and like these fast speed trains, we'd be using them, but we just don't have them.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
they just so
they're trying to build them here in Florida, and I think they're going to be. There's someone talking to me the other day about one of them, but the
the Bright
cost.
Line.
I don't know if that's its name, but the cost
That,
of it, they were talking about it was crazy expensive. I mean,
mhm.
just the one way ticket is ridiculous.
That's a great point. We didn't mention that. So these tickets, so the Bright Line, for example, they opened up here in South Florida, Miami can take you from Miami, and I think all the way up to the plan is to Orlando, going to drop you off at Orlando Airport, which is about a 3.5 hour drive time. I think it's going to get up there in a couple hours, but that's very expensive. It's not going to be 10, 20, $30 to get there, right? I don't know what the price is, but I'm assuming it's going to be between 50 to $100 minimum.
Yeah,
These
I think it was a little more than that. I think he was talking about a couple hundred, like basically the price of a
the
flight.
plane yeah. So these tickets that he's referring to are about under $1. So an average ticket on a subway or these trains are I don't know if this is considered a subway or just a train. What is this? Is
The
it
metro.
the
I don't know.
metro?
This is a
Okay.
metro, but um, yeah. But even with the amount of people that are going to be using them on a daily basis, if you really add up, I mean, if you're charging so much and no one's going to be using this, what's the point of having it?
Yeah. That's
So
yeah,
the,
because the cost factor. You're better off just taking a plane.
yeah, it's crazy, man. So let me see. Let me zoom in. Scroll across here. I think that was most of it for this one. He's back in the front, and it's
That's
got
just so cool. Like the
facial recognition.
yeah.
Recognition. Yeah, I mean, it's just like this is where the technology kind of ties in. It's
So
pretty
I,
crazy.
I wanted to mention something. So I was reading onto this. I'm like, so the reason they have chargers when you enter the train is because in China, your phone is kind of like your lifeline. It is here too in the US, but what I'm saying is that you pay everything through your phone. You get onto trains with your phone. Everything involves your phone. So they want to make sure your phone is always well charged, and that's why they have them on the train.
Yeah, they have a lot of stores too, where they basically shop. It's like those kind of like those Amazon stores they're trying to open up everywhere, where you walk in and you just grab stuff, and you can basically leave without having to actually pay anybody. It's already charged automatically. I also saw that in one of the train stations, and I'm not sure where this is at in China. They have a huge screen, and you can I believe you can click on things, touch like a touch screen, and you're basically ordering it, and then you go pick it up once you're there.
Yeah, it's pretty advanced, man.
Yeah.
And Japan's the same way, I'm assuming. Japan's pretty up there with their infrastructure. I think they have at one point they had the fastest train in the world. I don't know if China has it now, but it was between China and Japan.
Uh, let's see here, and then this kind of going back to the one I was talking about with the water. They're talking about our dams and all the pipes underground.
Dams are at risk too. The ASCE found the amount of high hazard potential dams has more than doubled in the last 20 years.
Oh,
This means if a dam were to fail,
I mean, this looks nice, but if one of these things fail, I mean, huge disaster. Have you ever been to
yeah.
one of
The
these big dams?
No, to be honest with you, I haven't. The
Um,
one
the,
in I wanted to go to the one in Vegas, or it's next to Vegas. What's that? Is it Huber Dam? I believe it is.
the Hoover Dam,
The Hoover
Hoover
Dam, the
Dam.
Hoover Dam. Yeah, the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, I've been to a few of
Uh,
these things, and they're amazing. They're huge. They're so big. You just can't imagine unless you go there. But I can only imagine if one of these things fail. And they're saying that because of the ages of a lot of these, if there is a slight earthquake or anything that can basically cause it to crumble, you're going to be losing people left and right because all the water
yeah,
that's
the
going to
water
travel.
source is very important.
I mean, and then going back to the water, in Flint, Michigan, and all the pipes. I hear some pictures of the pipes. Some of these pipes are so old they keep patching them, but um, you know, some of them are like the original pipes from like I don't know if it was like 100 years ago. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's what he was mentioning too. It's one thing is like if you want to rebuild your infrastructure, the thing that he was mentioning is that we don't even maintain it. So we're not going in there and actually making those what do you call it, adjustments to it, improving it, in other words, improving what you have. It's almost like it's been sitting there for, and he even uses the example in England where their tunnels are like 200 years old or something like that, and they haven't really done anything with it. So, or in the UK.
yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. Um, Obviously, China has a whole different system over there as far as their government and how they handle things. I'm not saying it's better. I just think what we got going on right now isn't helping anybody. Um, it's just no one can really do anything because let's just say the Republicans are in office and they pass stuff. The Democrats get in office, they change things, and then it's a cycle where nothing is ever going to get done because they're always going back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's like,
where
where do you want to spend your money? Do you want to spend your money on military, which is important, but I think if you see the budget of the United States, most of it is all the military, just improving the military. But if you don't have an infrastructure, if your country is collapsing from within, not just with the infrastructure problem, with the homeless problem, with the situation, and that's another video we can do with the drugs, right? All the situation with the overdosing on drugs in the
all the
U.S.
fentanyl and all the things going
Yeah,
around,
and I
it's
think
it.
a lot of people blame it on China, but you don't see them dying over there from that as much as the United States. So we're consuming it.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. is a huge consumer of everything.
But we like to sometimes we like to point the finger. It's like, oh, it's China's fault. Well, we're the one taking it. Like, take some responsibility. Like, I don't do drugs because I made a decision not to do it. So if someone hands it to me, I'm not going to do it.
No,
So it's one of those things. It's a lot of issues, man, that need to be addressed, and we'll see what's going to happen in the next couple of years. But it seems like China, and I want to close with this because we didn't talk about it a lot. But have you heard about the Belt and Road Initiative?
no.
Have you? Okay, I don't know if you can type that in on YouTube or not, but this is something that China
How do you spell
started.
it?
It's called Belt and Road Initiative.
Oh, Belt and Road, Belt.
Yeah, this is something they started. They started talking about in 2013. So it's been going on for about 10 years now, close to 10 years, I believe, if I'm mistaken. And they're just going into countries and they're not demanding anything. They're just going in and saying, hey, how can we improve your infrastructure? What can we do to help your infrastructure?
Oh, is this when
And
they're talking to other countries?
yeah, they're
Yeah,
going in, they're building Africa up, they're
yeah.
building Europe. And obviously, it's not always perfect. They're losing money too because they're putting up the money, they're bringing in the workers from China, they're building the infrastructure. And some of these politicians, they're corrupted, right? And they do what's in more benefit for them instead of the people of their country. But for the most part, they built up a lot of countries already.
Yeah.
Specifically in Africa, there's good things going on there where nobody wanted really to help them out as far as
But
uh,
are they actually taking parts of Africa? Are they owning some of those areas because of this?
they're just trying to make it easier for trade. They're looking at the big picture. They do trade with all these countries. So it's like, how can we make it more efficient? How could we go in there, build their infrastructure up, help them out? And then obviously it's kind of like a win-win situation.
Yeah,
So
I don't know all the the back and stuff. I'm sure there's some kind of deal they're working out where they're going to get part of something out of it where they have some
of
stake in
course,
something.
yeah, the trade, but they're
That
going in there and they're actually putting money to build these countries' infrastructure up.
if you, I mean, it's a business. It like for,
Yeah,
if you are someone with money and you're like, hey, I'm going to help your business, your country, uh, and infrastructure, we'll go ahead and do all this work. We're in return, we want something in return, right? So they're going to
yeah,
basically have some kind of power over in power that country. This is where it kind of gets sticky because if they're doing this to all these other countries, eventually they're building up all this, and all these places where they can move into and little by little take over
yeah.
most of the world. So what does that mean for everybody else? 50, 100 years from now, what's it going
I'll
to
be
look like?
speaking Chinese, Mandarin.
Mandarin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, you got to think too. The thing that people forget is United States is relatively a new country compared to these nations. China is thousands of years old. They have a lot of history. They've they've always been around and been on top for a very long time. They've been asleep for the last couple 100 years, but it looks like they've caught up again. And it's one of those things that they're doing a lot of things right, and they're building a lot of relationship with these countries, and they're investing in their people and their infrastructure. And obviously, they have their problems like any other country. They're not perfect.
yeah,
They still have a long way to go, but they're predicted to overpass the United States in GDP, and I think in the next 10 years or so.
the last couple of years, all the internal turmoil that we had in the country, domestic stuff going on. I mean, we literally gave gave everyone an opening to do what they need to do to kind of advance. And now we're stuck in this position, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I just think it's just like this video. We made this video just to kind of share our thoughts and just kind of open up, you know, another perspective. Because, like I said, living in the U.S., we only hear kind of one way news. China's bad. They're not doing anything. They're a communist country. So I think it's important to, just to learn about what other countries are doing to help their people out. And, if you get a chance to travel, I know I don't have any problem going to visit China. I'll going to visit another country and kind of seeing it for myself. I know Japan was on my list. I want to go to China one day. I want to see the Great Wall of China. And based on what I've seen and what I've heard of all the developments out there, it makes me want to go even more.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. If you like the video, please make sure to subscribe, click the like button, leave some comments, and let us know. If you like the topic, what topics you want to hear about, or if you have any opinions on the actual topic itself. Sebastian, anything else you want to add before we go?
That's it. Just share your thoughts on the comments below, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, guys, have a good night. Peace.